Perched atop the fog-shrouded mountain ridge in our creaking old weather station, I savored the monotonous hum of satellite data scrolling across my screen. The lukewarm coffee shared with my small team chasing away the chill, even as inexplicable static hissed through the radios like a distant, unspoken warning. Gray skies pressed down endlessly, blurring the line between day and dusk, while wind howled faintly against the weathered walls, carrying sounds that felt almost alive in their persistence. I leaned back in my chair, the familiar creak of aged wood grounding me as I scanned the incoming patterns. Another storm brewing on the horizon. Nothing out of the ordinary, just the rhythmic pulse of nature's indifference unfolding before us in isolation. I glanced up from the screen as the first rumble of thunder rolled through the valley below, closer than I'd expected. The storm advanced fast, dark clouds swallowing the horizon like a spreading shadow. My team, Renly, the sharp-witted meteorologist with her perpetual ponytail and quick laughs, Tom, the burly technician who could fix anything with duct tape and a grunt, and Allison, our quiet data analyst who preferred algorithms to small talk, scattered around the control room, monitoring their own stations. The air felt heavier, charged with the sharp scent of ozone, and the radios crackled with static that pulsed in time with the distant lightning. "Storm's picking up," I said, trying to sound casual, but an edge crept into my voice that I couldn't shake. I'd always been the curious one, the guy who pushed boundaries in the name of science. While the others tracked wind speeds and pressure drops, I'd been tinkering with an old frequency scanner salvaged from the storage room, a relic from the station's early days, designed to detect anomalous radio waves during atmospheric disturbances. It wasn't standard protocol, but up here, isolated on this god-forsaken ridge, what harm could a little experimentation do? I figured it might capture electromagnetic oddities from the lightning, something to spice up our reports. As thunder roared louder, rattling the observatory's thin walls, I powered up the scanner. It hummed to life, dials flickering with a faint green glow. Adjusting the frequencies, I scanned the bands, listening for anything unusual. Static hissed from the speakers, broken by garbled bursts resembling voices, sounds too faint to discern. Outside, the storm intensified, rain lashing the windows in sheets, wind howling like a beast clawing to enter. "Come on, give me something," I muttered, twisting the knob further. A violent thunderclap boomed overhead, and the scanner spiked, its needles jumping erratically. Then, a low, resonant tone emanated from it. Not static, but a deep vibration that rattled my bones. It felt wrong, like tuning into the storm's heartbeat. The control room lights flickered, and for a split second the air grew unnaturally cold, frost forming on the windows despite the summer humidity. Renly looked over, frowning. "David, what the hell are you doing?" "That thing's ancient, probably interfering with our readings." "Just testing a theory," I replied, my hands steady on the controls as excitement overrode caution. Another thunderclap resounded, and the tone deepened, warping into a guttural chant that reverberated through the room. The scanner's screen blurred, displaying unfamiliar symbols, swirling patterns twisting like storm clouds. I should have shut it down then, but hubris, that old friend, urged thoughts of a groundbreaking discovery. Suddenly, the entire station shuddered as if struck by an earthquake. The storm outside erupted in ferocity, winds howling at hurricane speeds, lightning forking across the sky in unnatural, persistent arcs. Hail pelted the roof, growing larger by the second as the temperature plummeted. Alarms blared from our consoles, barometric pressure dropping impossibly fast, wind gusts off the charts. We were trapped. The mountain road was impassable, and the observatory's doors sealed against the elements. "What did you do?" Tom yelled, rushing to reinforce a window as cracks spiderwebbed across the glass from the hail. I don't know," I stammered, staring at the scanner. The tone had ceased, replaced by a heavy silence broken only by the raging storm. Then fog rolled in, not from outside, but seeping through the vents, thick and cloying, distorting everything. It wasn't natural. It moved with purpose, curling around our legs like tendrils, transforming the familiar control room into something alien and vast. My vision blurred at the edges, shapes shifting in the mist. Shadows flitted just out of sight, and faint calls reached my name from afar. Renly clutched her head, eyes wide. "Do you hear that? It's like voices in the wind." We tried to regroup, but paranoia set in fast. The fog thickened, turning the air opaque, and I could barely see Tom across the room. He blamed me for sabotaging the equipment, his face twisted in unfamiliar suspicion. "You always have to play the hero, David. Now look what you've unleashed." "It was an accident," I shot back, but doubt gnawed at me. Had I truly been just experimenting? Or was there some part of me that craved the chaos, the thrill of tampering with uncontrollable forces? The hail escalated, pounding like artillery fire. A massive chunk shattered through a window, sending glass shards flying. Wind and rain invaded, soaking us instantly as the cold bit deep. We scrambled to board it up with whatever we could find, desks, chairs, but the storm seemed alive, targeting weak points with precision. Lightning struck the antenna array outside, sparking fires that the rain somehow couldn't extinguish, forcing us to huddle in the room's center. That's when the hallucinations began. At first, they were subtle. Allison swore she saw figures in the fog, humanoid shapes with eyes like glowing embers. Then they struck me. Visions of my team turning on each other, their faces morphing into grotesque masks of rage. I saw Renly lunging at Tom with a shard of glass, heard him screaming charges of betrayal, but when I blinked, they were just standing there, terrified, as the images faded like smoke. The demon, because what else could it be, was toying with us, twisting our perceptions to breed distrust. "We need to stick together," I urged, my voice trembling, but the faint calls grew louder, sowing seeds of doubt. My own thoughts rebounded, mocking my arrogance. "You thought you could command the storm, David. Now it commands you." Hours blurred into a nightmare. The fog never lifted. It evolved, carrying scents of sulfur and decay that churned my stomach. We rationed our emergency supplies, but the cold seeped into our bones, and the constant hail barrage weakened the structure. Cracks appeared in the walls, and water pooled on the floor, freezing into treacherous ice. Tom slipped, gashing his arm, and in the dim emergency lights, his blood looked black, like oil. Allison was the first to crack. She babbled about patterns in the data, insisting the storm was no accident, that I'd summoned an ancient demon of the skies, bound to tempests.
The frequencies, David. You tuned into its domain. It's feeding on the chaos, growing stronger.
Her eyes were wild, and as she pointed at me, I saw the same blame mirrored in Renly's gaze. Paranoia festered. I found myself wondering if they were plotting against me, scheming to seize control of the station. I tried to rationalize it. Atmospheric interference, group hysteria. But deep down I knew. The scanner had opened a door, and something had slipped through. Outside, the storm raged unnaturally, lightning forming claw-like shapes in the clouds, reaching down. Amidst the thunder, we heard primal roars, not meteorological phenomena, but cries of malice. As night fell, or what passed for it in the endless gray, the demon's influence deepened. Hallucinations turned into vivid torments. In the fog, I relived my past mistakes, colleagues I'd overshadowed in my rise to this post, experiments I'd pushed too far, all leading to this hubris-fueled disaster. Renly shared confessions, fears of being overlooked, resentments toward my leadership. That felt too real to be mere illusions. Tom grew violent, shoving me against a console when I suggested destroying the scanner. That's your precious toy. You fix this. We barricaded ourselves in the control room, but the elements invaded without mercy. Hail grew into fist-sized projectiles that punched holes in the roof, admitting torrents of rain mixed with a viscous substance, like blood-tinged sleet. The wind carried secrets, amplifying our doubts. They're lying to you, David. They're the real threat. In a moment of clarity, I grabbed the scanner, intending to smash it. But as my hand touched it, a surge of energy coursed through me, revealing visions of the demon's true form, a swirling entity of storm and shadow born from ancient cataclysms. It had been waiting, dormant in the frequencies, and I'd given it voice. Guilt crashed over me like a wave. My pursuit of knowledge had endangered us all, my ego blinding me to the risks. The team turned on each other then. Allison charged Renly with hiding rations, while Renly screamed at Tom for abandoning his post during a repair. I tried to mediate, but the fog twisted my words into threats. Fists flew. Tom tackled me to the ground, his face a mask of rage, bellowing that I'd doomed us. We wrestled amid the debris, broken glass cutting into my palms as the cold numbed the pain. But the real horror was building outside. The storm coalesced, winds spiraling into a massive vortex that tore at the mountain itself. Lightning illuminated its core, a writhing mass of darkness, eyes like thunderheads glaring down. The demon was manifesting, no longer content with subtle manipulations. It slammed against the observatory, shattering more windows, as hail mixed with debris from the ridge, rocks and trees hurtling like missiles. We retreated to the shattered control room, the station's heart. Consoles sparking and failing as water flooded in. The vortex loomed, its roar deafening, elemental fury personified. I stood at the center, grappling with my hubris. This wasn't science. It was folly, an arrogant invitation to chaos. The demon's thunderous laugh boomed in my mind.
You called me mortal. Now, face the storm.
I lunged for the scanner amidst the wreckage, my team scattered and screaming, the vortex bearing down. I smashed that scanner against the console with every ounce of remaining strength, the device shattering in a burst of sparks and unnatural feedback that pierced the demon's roar. The vortex faltered, its swirling mass convulsing as if wounded, the thunderous laughter in my mind fracturing into dissonant cries. Lightning arced wildly, illuminating the twisted remains of my team. Renly crumpled against a wall, her eyes vacant. Tom buried under debris, his charges silenced. Allison lost to the fog that had claimed her sanity hours ago. They were gone, victims of the paranoia and chaos I'd unleashed, their screams swallowed by the storm's retreat. As the demon receded into the dissipating clouds like a sated predator, I staggered through the observatory's ruins, my skin lacerated by glass and hail, my mind a fractured mosaic of guilt and horror. Amid the wreckage, I discovered a hidden log in the scanner's ancient circuitry. Deliberate code, not random static, but an engineered frequency. A lure crafted by some forgotten predecessor who had glimpsed the entity and sought to trap it, only to bind it eternally to these atmospheric disturbances. This implied the demon's shadow lingered, woven into every incoming storm, awaiting the next fool to tune in. Descending the mountain under a deceptively calm sky, the path slick with melting ice and debris, I felt scars etching deeper. Physical wounds that would heal, mental ones that would fester. The inexplicable static that once hissed through our radios now resounded in my thoughts, a perpetual warning I'd ignored. Gray skies pressed down, blurring day and dusk, the wind howling with sounds that felt alive, malevolent. No longer perched in isolation, but haunted by it, I realized the rhythmic pulse of nature's indifference was a lie. Every brewing storm carried a hidden threat, blurring the line between natural disasters and ancient forces masquerading within them. I would never savor the monotonous hum of data again, only dread it, knowing I'd invited the chaos, and it would return.
Hey guys, it's Malice here. I really appreciate you sticking around until the end of the story. I'm a one-man operation and trying my best to grow, so if you like what you just heard, please leave me a like. Subscribe if you want to hear more, and please send me any reading requests you might have. I'm always struggling to find new content. Thanks again, and stay scared.